Silly here on Genzy Garage.
If you remember in a previous video, I removed the dash, removed the seats, and gutted the interior completely. I then hand cleaned the entire interior with a wet rag. When the floors were cleaned, I sprayed metal etching primer and epoxy paint to eliminate any surface rust there was. That said, they were basically immaculate. I then sprayed rubberized undercoating for additional sound deadening and sealing. Next, I cut several pieces of Dynamat and heat-resistive matting to help cover areas where sound resonance may occur. I then cleaned all the sound deadening. Then, I used some 3M adhesive spray and reattached the original jute padding after allowing it to dry. Finally, I reinstalled the carpet after scrubbing it and pressure washing it. It may not look perfect, but the OEM Fiero carpets are much higher quality than nearly any other carpet sold in GM cars of the time. It's not cut pile like most vehicles. It's loop-based carpet with very thick rubber backing, and comes in two-tone tweed styling. With the seats installed and the floor mat back in place, this looks like a brand new carpet. The rest of this episode will focus on restoring the original dashboard and putting back together much of the center console. I'll also go over some restoration tips, not only for the dash, but also the switches and buttons. But before we start, let's cover the trivia. In a previous video, I asked you guys what this notch was for on the inside of the Fiero's dashboard. Only one of you got it. Congratulations to Matt Meyer for correctly guessing travel computer. In the development of the 1985 model year, Pontiac worked on what was called the rally computer, which would have been located in the passenger side dash area. This rally computer, which had the RPO code UV4, would have connected by a cable that fed through this hole in the dash. Originally meant to have debuted in the 1986 model year, it would have included a number of features such as multiple trip computers, a digital stopwatch, an additional fuel gauge with miles to empty, a digital compass, and a fuel economy gauge. Unfortunately, with the emergence of airbags, Pontiac saw no real long-term future for the rally computer, and canceled it shortly before the 1986 model year when it was to have been released. For those who have a 1986 Fiero GT or a later 86 SE, you'll likely have the factory wiring harness hidden behind the dash that would have provided all the data feeds directly from the ECM and sensors. Oddly enough, even though it was meant for the 1986, only the 1987 and up ECMs have the necessary programming for that rally computer's data stream. This was a very cool function, and it's unfortunate that it didn't come to be. A little birdie told me though that a certain Penix user is working on one for us. Thanks to everyone who played the trivia. Now let's get started on the dash. I start by removing all of the hardware from my original dashboard. Both corners of this dash were unfortunately damaged, so I ended up buying a good replacement dash from a local Fiero used parts supplier. You'll see the replacement off to the left. What you may also see is that the color of this replacement looks perfect, but it didn't come that way. My Fiero has the light gray interior and the dash without the auxiliary gauge cluster. With these cars being 40 years old, the original colors have faded and lost their brilliance. While this replacement dash was physically in good shape, the paint was faded. But I'll let you in on a little secret. The Fiero store sells perfectly color-matched interior color plastic and vinyl spray paint, specifically for your year Fiero. It's important to note, however, that most panels in the Fiero have faded or discolored. Yellowing in plastic occurs when it is exposed to UV light or excessive heat, which causes photo-oxidation of the polymers in the plastic. It can also occur as a result of fire-retardant benzene leaching from the plastic over time. Take, for example, this 8-bit Nintendo Entertainment System, which debuted the same year as my Fiero. Now compare the original one to the one that's been exposed to sunlight. This stark comparison is exactly what's happened to the interior of our Fieros. Even the dark gray and beechwood interiors have changed. It's for this reason that the Fiero store does not advertise this paint on their website. They can, however, special order them for you. Keep in mind, these are not returnable, and it's important to understand any color match issues are going to be as a result of your parts having faded, not the paint. As I finish removing the old speaker hardware, it's worth plugging the Fiero store again. If you choose to replace all of this hardware, the Fiero store sells entirely new kits as well. I'm trying to save my dad a little bit of money though, so I reuse most of these. I can now begin focusing on the now painted dash and reinstalling the hardware. I begin by reinstalling the defrost vent, which I painted using Marhide's black satin paint to restore the original satin finish. I also reinstall the speaker screw clips into the dash. There are 4 per side, and they hold in the 4x10 front factory speakers. Next, I reinstall the HVAC ductwork back into the dash. This simply drops in place and is held on by several 7mm screws directly into the back of the dash. Make sure not to over-tighten these, as the plastic can crack on both the dash and the vents. There are at least 7 screws, so make sure you get them all. This is an area that's particularly prone to squeaking. Any loose or missing screws can result in a rattly interior, so make sure everything goes in properly. With the vents secured, I then flip the dash again and begin attaching the vents. A little secret that I discovered: these naturally black plastic pieces, like the vents and other trim, tend to fade over time as a result of the plastic being dried out. To restore the natural look of these unpainted plastic trim pieces, I sprayed them all down with Blaster's industrial strength silicone lubricant. Drench the parts overnight and allow them to sit. The silicone will soak into the plastic, leaving a satin and non-oily look. The plastic will dry to the touch and look just like it did from the factory. The last item left for me to attach to the dash are the side window defrost vents, which just pop into place. Before I reinstall the dash, I refocus my attention back inside the car.
Now that the dashboard is removed, the wires are exposed, and we can start adding more things such as power door locks and the subwoofer, starting with the subwoofer.
Offered in the 1986 model year, the Fiero subwoofer system has several primary components as shown in the diagram. These include the subwoofer and sub box, the sound boost overhead control, and the amplifier. There is also a single long wiring harness that connects all of these together, and that's what I'm installing here. The subwoofer harness sits in line of the factory radio speaker and power cables. It essentially intercepts the signals before they get to the speakers and processes them through an amplifier first, acting as a pass-through. The subwoofer amplifier itself is located on the passenger side, quite literally between the fuel tank tunnel and the carpet. There's a plastic panel that sits in that spot, which helps shape the carpet for the center console. Because the subwoofer wasn't offered until 1986, this 1985 has the incorrect panel. But all 1986 to 1988 panels will fit and are dimensionally the same. The subwoofer snaps right into this panel and is held in place with a single screw at the top. I've already installed this panel and connect the 3 factory speaker plugs into the subwoofer harness. As I mentioned earlier, the subwoofer wasn't offered until 1986, but the mounting location for the subwoofer wiring harness made use of its previously designed screw hole. The harness is tied to the frame using a single 7mm screw and mounting tab, which already exists on the harness itself. Next, I carefully run the cable along the firewall to the driver's side. The rest of the cable runs up the driver's side A-pillar, connecting to the new overhead console. But first, I have to remove the original cable that just powers the dome light. With this removed, I can now install the new wiring harness in the same location as the old one. You may have noticed at this point the obvious elephant in the room. Yes, I have totally awesome new seats. These came from Mr. Mike's Fiero upholstery. I'll go into lots of detail, but I'm saving that for the next episode. In the meantime, let's also talk about the dash. Unfortunately, the battery on the camera died while we were recording, so it didn't get saved. Needless to say, the dash went in the opposite of how it came out. In any case, I begin hooking back up the speakers. I went with a set of OEM-sized 4x10 Kenwood speakers for $70 a pair. They're 40 watts nominal with a peak of 160 watts. They have a fantastic frequency range and will work well with my upgraded factory radio. You'll notice I'm using spade connectors. That's because the original speaker wires were already cut, so I'm simply reusing them since they'll already fit. Make sure you connect them properly, or you could reverse the polarity. You can use the chart on the left for the correct color coding. With the speaker in place, I begin reinstalling the screws to hold it down. Try not to over-tighten these screws, or you could crack your dash, or at the very least, damage the hole where the screw's lag shield snaps into. Next, I install my newly repainted speaker covers, which just snap in. I tried a number of things to restore the speaker cover fabric, including dyeing them. In the end, the only thing that worked was to paint them with a black fabric paint. With the dash good to go, I installed the newly painted A-pillars so the car doesn't feel so dark. I ended up repainting all of the Fiero's interior panels with the Fiero store's interior paint. It took a total of 3 spray cans for everything. Next, I move on to the center console. I reinstall my reconditioned 5-speed shifter assembly, which I'd previously removed, cleaned, repainted, and greased. The shifter goes in exactly as it came out, and I press in the new shift cable clips with a rubber mallet. Next, I've installed the center console skeleton. Believe it or not, this was completely uncracked, so I don't need to do anything except replace the tree clips that hold the side panels in place. I begin by screwing it down to the metal bracket in the front, then screw it down in the back, and reinstall the ALDL connector. Next, I install the center console radio and HVAC mounting bracket. This is normally unpainted from the factory and typically develops surface rust. I decided to paint this with black paint so it doesn't show up through the vents. Next, I install all new tree clips to reattach the under carpet side panels. And finally, I reinstalled the radio and HVAC surround. I painted this with SEM vinyl satin black, which is the exact same paint that I used to paint the top of the dashboard, as recommended by the Fiero store. As with everything that you paint, preparation is key. All of the interior pieces that I've painted, including the dash, you must make sure that you clean the panels thoroughly. That means carefully using a paint prep spray first to remove any oils, greases, or wax that's built up. Only when it's completely clean can you expect proper paint adhesion. It's starting to get late, as you can see, but before I call it a night, I install my newly reconditioned air conditioning controls. If your controls were like mine, they probably looked like this. I mentioned earlier in the video that many plastics have a benzene additive, but this benzene leaches out over the years, causing the plastic to turn yellow. I carefully removed all of the gray push buttons, including the black one, and used a bag-sealed bleaching process called RetroBrite. RetroBrite was invented by the gaming community to restore the plastics on 80s computer and video game systems, like the NES I mentioned before. It's really easy to use, and you can purchase it already pre-mixed from Amazon. You merely put the parts in a bag, liberally spray them down, seal the bag, and place it in direct sunlight. This removes the discoloration and restores the plastic to its natural colors. I intentionally bought an extra control panel so you could see the difference between a restored one and an unrestored one. Just look at the difference. Keep in mind the knob and slider bar do not fade. They just need to be cleaned with a toothbrush and dish soap. Before you go, I want to thank you for sticking with me on this longer than usual video. I'll be finishing the interior in the next video, so please make sure to like and subscribe so you're notified when I post it. Thank you again for watching.
What do you want to name this cat?
I'm not sure yet.
I'm going for Big Block.
I think we should not name it Big Block.
How about Megatron?
No.
You don't think Megatron?
No, please. Please. Too beautiful. Pretty.
Yeah.